Welcome to the Rules Committee meeting of the Council. I'll call this meeting to order at 1 o'clock. If you would stand, Deputy Joe Crittenden. Joe Crittenden, would you do the honors and bless this meeting?
I will, sir. Father, first of all, I want to thank you for this day you blessed us with, for traveling grace to get to this meeting, and for all those that are here. Father, I pray you'll have your way with this meeting. Good things will happen, and good decisions will be made. Be with those at the table and the council members, as they some of them began a new journey in their life. Help them always to put the people's needs and what's best for them at the forefront of every decision they make. Be with us here who's in the audience. Help us, Father, to be respectful. Help us everything to be done in a business way. Father, thank you so much for what you've done for this tribe, for our people, for our country. I pray for our leaders. I pray, Father, for those that are sick and afflicted. I pray for those that are doing without or in pain. Ask your blessings on them, your comfort, as only you can provide. Be with those standing in harm's way. Keep them safe and bring them home to their loved ones soon. Again, Father, I want to thank you for all you do for us. Everything we do, every breath we take, we owe to you, Father. Go with us, continue to bless and forgive us where we fail. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. This time I call the meeting to order. Roll call. Shelley? Ani?
Here. And yes.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates. Here. Sean Crittenden.
Here.
Joe Deere.
Here.
Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Tanner Duncan.
Ani.
Rex Jordan.
Here, yes.
Daryl Legg.
Here.
Wes Snowfire.
Ani.
Laura Petzkowski.
Here.
Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw. Ani. Eo Smith.
Here.
Denise Taylor. Here. Tori Vasquez.
Ani.
We have a quorum.
Yes, thank you, Shelley. This time I entertain the motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. People in the audience, we thank you for being here at our Rules Committee meeting. If you would synchronize your phone, it'd be much appreciated as we conduct the business of the tribe. This time we'll go to reports. Marshal Service, Mr. Shannon Buell.
Good afternoon. The report that you have, don't have much to add to that other than to just say that we're getting ready to start the fun-filled season of the holiday. We'll be out and about. If you see us, please be kind to us because our guys are going to be hot and tired. We're going to try to be as many places as we can. If you have issues or concerns during the holiday, please call me on my cell, and we will get somebody, if we can, to help you out. We always try to do that. If I can't help you, I think most of you know that I'm pretty honest, and I'll just say I can't do it, but let's see if we can't make it happen somewhere else. But if I can help you all during the holiday, if you have personal issues during the holiday, if your car breaks down or you don't know where you need to go, call us. We'll get somebody to you. You locked your keys in your car, whatever the case may be for the holiday. We want you to be here, be safe. You know it's going to be hot, so drink a lot of water. And other than that, is there any questions for what I have?
Yes, Councilor Duncan.
Marshal, I've thanked you personally, but I want to thank you publicly as well. Last night, we had a situation there with Cherokee water, and you jumped right on it, and your guys jumped on it with help of Jeremy Fisher and folks at CMB to help get it purchased, and went and got some water purchased and delivered in the middle of the night, and appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Glad that you was put some pants on too.
I was too.
He said he
yeah.
was sitting in his lazy chair. And he said, "I got to put some pants on. I'll go buy some water."
And then I said, it is Walmart, so I don't know if I need to.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
Anybody else? Good report.
Thank you.
Office Attorney General, Chrissy Nemo.
keep it real short. You all know this, but I haven't been back in front of you to talk about it since the decision in the ICWA case came out. The court ruled that ICWA was constitutional, was not race-based. It was a great decision. Couldn't have been much better if we had written it ourselves. There was a dissent that said one of the claims that the defendants won, and it was that the law unlawfully commandeered state officers to carry out federal law. It was a dissent, so it doesn't mean anything, but it does give the opposition fuel to appeal. They have 45 days from the issuance of the opinion, which was August 9th, to seek en banc review, and that means they ask the entire circuit court instead of just the 3 judges that heard it to hear it. If that is denied, they have 90 days to seek cert from the U.S. Supreme Court, or if they don't seek en banc, they have 90 days from the decision to seek cert. So we're a month out, basically, from them filing anything. The Attorney General of Texas, who was one of the plaintiffs, has indicated in the media that they plan to seek further review on this. So we expect them to appeal. This is a unified effort across Indian country to defend this case, so there will be lots of tribes involved in tribal organizations, and I will update you all when and if anything's filed on that. We had big news yesterday, or not yesterday, Tuesday, I think, in the Oklahoma opioid trial, and there have been some questions about how that affects us or not. The state of Oklahoma was awarded a judgment of $570 million against Johnson & Johnson. This was the first case to actually go to trial. Oklahoma, fortunately, was one of the plaintiffs that was able to stay out of the MDL. I talked about this a little bit last time. I think all of the cases that we have filed against various plaintiffs have been moved to the MDL, which is multi-district litigation. So cases that were filed, whether they were filed in state or federal court, if they had any federal law nexus, they were moved to Ohio in front of one judge and all combined so they could kind of look at all the cases. None of those have gone to trial. I was asked a question about following the news of the Johnson & Johnson settlement. It made news that Purdue, which is one of the largest companies, is seeking to enter some type of global settlement. And people say, well, what does that mean from us? We will be part of it. We just don't know to what extent. The model we kind of have for this is tobacco settlements, where there was a lot of money and it was split up. I think this is different in the sense that there are plaintiffs that are states, counties, cities, tribes, and if there ends up being one pot of money, both the individual plaintiffs as well as the court will have to reach some type of global agreement on how that money is divided. And that's based on, different people have different claims about how much money they should get based on their damages, not only the number of people, but when you look at kind of the higher concentration areas. So it is ongoing, but it was a big deal that there was finally a judgment. Oklahoma had actually received 2 settlements prior to that. They're up to total around $900 million. I think the judgment in this case will be appealed. Johnson & Johnson has already indicated that they will. So we continue to move forward in those cases with the rest of the country. And there's lots of news about it, but there hasn't been anything to update you all as far as our cases because nothing new has happened. And we continue to work on those with our outside counsel. And the last thing is, just today, you all probably didn't see it because I think you're in meetings, there were an additional unified tribal letter and press release issued back to the governor regarding his latest letter on renegotiation of the gaming compact. And we continue to take the same position that the compact automatically renews, that if the governor does make an offer of negotiation of the fees, which is the only thing that we believe can be renegotiated, that the tribes will be willing to talk to him, but he has yet to do so. So the unified letter back to the governor was, we believe the compact auto renews, and until you agree with us on that, we can't talk about fees. And so we're in a bit of a standoff right now, but that hit the news about an hour ago. So if you all haven't seen it, there's some local news coverage on those releases.
Good report. Any questions for Chrissy? Good job on the ICWA case, Chris. Yes, Gwen Terrapin.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
And congratulations to our new council members. It's going to be a privilege working with all of you. So far to date, we have 34 FOIA GRA requests. 15 of those are FOIA and 19 of those are GRA. And we have 3 that are outstanding. Website's been updated, and all of you should have gotten a copy of that also.
Any questions for Gwen this time? Good report. Thank you. Sharon Swepston, Tax Commission.
Afternoon. I believe you have my report. I'll try to address any questions that you might have.
Any questions for our Tax Commission lady? She's always giving us good reports. We appreciate you, Sharon. Yes, question, Councilor Crittenden?
Sharon, appreciate you always answering my calls and helpful,
All right.
and always sounding cheerful. We'd mentioned this a few months back about some of the places that don't have the tag agencies. And where can we go moving forward on that?
We just need to sit down and look at the cost of what it would cost, because as I discussed with you before, you can't just have one person there. You pretty much got to have a minimum of 2, just simply for lunches, or even if somebody calls in sick or something. I mean, you pretty much got to have a minimum of 2, depending on the area. And the biggest cost that we have is the overhead for internet services and things like that cost, because we have to be able to tie back here to be able to verify registrations and get into the database and that kind of stuff. So,
You know, my job to speak for Adair County, and
Right.
I wouldn't be opposed to any other people. You
Right.
know, we could join and do something like that. So just, will you look at some of that and
Sure.
get some figures? And there's lots of Cherokees in my district that sure could benefit from that. And I expect to hear my district too, my town too. Well, that's great. I'm for that. But
Right.
really, there's a lot of Cherokees down that way that could help. So,
we can certainly look at the volume in those areas and see what we can do.
thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, Councilor Shaw.
Sharon, have we ever done any research or had shown any interest in issuing our own driver's license,
Have not,
tribal driver's license?
right.
Do you have any idea of what would be involved to do such a venture?
That would be more Chrissy probably, but I would say it would have to take some type of a agreement with the state, because it would still have to be something that would be, agreeable and legal and all of that with the states and
Right,
stuff.
right.
So I'm not sure Chrissy may be more the person to answer those questions, but.
I agree with Sharon. I'd like to bring this up at a different meeting then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Shambo.
Kind of heard some things on the internet, or I've read some things on the internet about our tribal IDs.
As accepting them, you mean?
Yes, I've
We
read
do.
different things that
it's
places aren't
the-
accepting them.
No, we do. If it's a photo ID and it has your physical address on it, then we will accept that, not in place of a driver's license, but for verification.
I'm talking about our actual tribal IDs, that we get at the community meetings and things that we fly on. We've had
Right.
passports on in the past.
Right.
There's been some grumblings that those things aren't going to be accepted anymore. Have you heard anything about that?
No,
Okay.
I
Well,
have
I've just
not.
read some things on the internet
yeah,
that they weren't going to be accepted
I
anymore.
have not heard that. So, and as far as us accepting it, we do accept
Sure.
that as a verification of address, if the physical address is on there.
As far as a tag agent?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And they still accept those in security checks at the airports.
They took mine just a couple of weeks ago,
Yes.
so.
So for that part, yeah, they still do.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Good report. Gaming Commission, Jamie Hummingbird.
Good afternoon, Council. How is everybody today?
Good.
Well, in the interest of time, I'll let my report stand as submitted unless there are any questions. I just have one little item to share with the committee, and that is we are working feverishly to get the Fort Gibson facility reopened. Knock on wood, it's going to be within the next day or so. So as soon as I get done here, that's where I'm going. We're going to do some final checks, make sure the facility is compliant with all the regulations. We got the games pretty much up. We're getting everything else moved back in, from surveillance to food and beverage to Players Club, you name it. So everybody's working hard to get that open, and looking forward to getting it open to the public within the next day or so.
How many employees did that affect?
You would ask me a hard question that I don't know the answer to right off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I think it was about a couple of hundred employees.
Okay, I guess 200, okay.
Yep.
All right, anybody else? Yes, Counselor Austin?
What was the schedule for that to open? Because I thought I'd heard October. So
It was projected to be a little bit later than it is, but there were a lot of things that came together at the right time. So we got a lot of the products that needed to be refurbished and get the stuff like the race floor, get the carpet, getting the millwork, getting all of that stuff done. It came in at just the right time, and it worked out just right, I guess, just to line everything up. They were able to get a lot of people dedicated and resources dedicated, not just from our side on the Gaming Commission side, but also on the enterprise, as well as all the vendors that come in and do this. So we had hundreds of people running around that place over the last couple of weeks in order to get this thing open.
they all should be commended, because typically we hear about how come something doesn't make schedule, and this is considerably ahead of schedule, it sounds like.
This is ahead of schedule, and it has taken a lot of coordination, a lot of resources to get out there and get it done. So they've done a great job. They being everybody involved in that. I'd like to give a special shout out to Shannon Vidadapar, who is our gaming agent supervisor. She's been in charge of the project over there for us these last few weeks, and she's done a great job. So I have to toot the horn of my staff whenever I can. All right.
Anybody else? Yeah, Counselor Critter?
Yeah, after something like this, Jamie, rebuilding and reopening,
Yep.
is there more red spins in when you open up something like this, like on Lucky Ducks?
I'll get them back, huh?
Kind of like a grand opening type deal?
I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of any special plans.
I appreciate you answering my questions the other day.
Okay.
Good?
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Okay, good report.
All right, thank you much.
Human Resources? Jason Morton?
Good afternoon. I've submitted a written report. What we've been doing lately is just helping with the paperwork for the transition, getting ready for the end of the year, and so basically this is the season of paperwork for my department. So I know you guys have a long agenda, so if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Any specific questions for Nason? Good report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Old business, none pending. Moving on to new business.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I
Councilor
know
Moser.
we had a report in here from the Office of Self-Governance, and I want to bring your attention about the reestablishment of the BIA superintendent position. This said it's been vacant for like 10 years, but there's some inherent governmental functions that they do, and I was interested what those functions were. And the other question was, and Karen's probably watching, but are we going to get the area superintendent back here, or is it going to be back in Muskogee? So I'm sure Sharon will email us or let us know. But I had some questions about that. The inherent governmental functions is about the only thing that the BIA does, and I don't know what those are. I'd like to know what they are. I know.
Do you want to make a comment on that?
I think I can address that just a little bit.
Okay.
We are actively seeking the agency to be placed here. And we're working through Karen Ketcher to accomplish that.
Okay.
And she's been working on it, probably a year.
So the agency, the superintendent that's in Muskogee will be transferred here?
That's the director.
Okay.
An agency is a step below that. And our tribe is able to get one, I believe, in the long run, and we are actively working on that.
Didn't we used to have that here?
You used to have that. You haven't had it for years.
Right.
but I think it's gonna come back to you.
Okay, does that answer some of that?
Yes, it
Counselor?
answers the question, and I guess what I was talking about is the inherent government functions is, you know, I've asked about the pine trees for several years, and I don't know if that's one of the functions of the Bureau to approve those, so I'd like to have an answer for that. And I think I'd asked a Resources Committee to have somebody in the next committee to answer those questions about why we're not doing anything with the pine, so maybe it can get answered then.
Okay,
Okay?
all right. Todd, you got that? Yes, sir. Anybody else? Okay, good. All right. No old business, new business, selection of committee chairs and co-chairs. First, Rules Committee co-chair. Counselor Jordan?
Yes, I move that Kynan Duncan be the co-chair of the Rules Committee, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Executive and Finance Committee co-chair. The current chair is Janice Taylor, so she remains. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Joe Deere.
Okay, Joe Deere, motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed? Community Service Committee Chair.
Mr.
Make
Speaker.
a
Yes. Councilman Buzz.
motion to nominate Wes No Fire.
Okay, got a motion?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Yes,
Another nomination? Mike Shambaugh.
Mike Shambaugh. Okay. Second.
I'll second.
We already got a second. Okay. Got two nominations, Shelley. What we got? We do the first one and come back to second, or?
As it passed, we vote on the first one.
Okay, let's do the first one there.
Councilor
First one was West Snowfire. Yes, Counselor.
I wondered, I know it's been the habit for a long time to make these nominations and these votes by a show of hands and in the way that we're about to do. Since these are elections, essentially, I was wondering if it might not be more appropriate to do these as just a written, private vote. That way we don't have to go through two votes. You know, does the first one get accepted, then does the second one get accepted? But we could just do it all in one motion, one action, in which everybody could just state their, who it is that they're voting for. It would be a more private way to do it, which I believe is probably more appropriate when these are essentially elections of people to positions. So I would.
We've done it that way, and we've also done it just openly, let everyone just vote. That's the way we did it last time. Is that, if that's the way you guys want to do it, well, you know, doesn't matter to me. I think in this case, let's do the first one here. We had a motion and a second. West No Fire. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Did you get that, Shelley? Now, let's go to the other. We had vote for Mike Shambaugh. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. It appeared to me, unless anybody else disputes it, Counselor Shambaugh. Okay, let's move to number 3, Education Committee Chair. Need a motion? Yes, Counselor Shaw.
I'd like to nominate Julia Coates.
Okay, got a motion?
Second.
Second? Okay.
Counselor Bird, I respect the nomination, but I would decline. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Jordan?
I'd move that Keith Austin.
Okay, got a motion for Keith Austin?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Keith Austin. We need a co-chair for that. Yes, Counselor Duncan.
I'd like to move to nominate Wes No Fire.
Okay, got a motion, got a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Wes? Okay, Resource Committee? Yes, Counselor Taylor.
Rex Jordan? Second.
Got a motion for Rex Jordan. Got a second? Discussion? All All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Rex, now we need a co-chair for that.
No,
That's
EO's
you.
co-chair.
Okay, EO, you stand.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Is that it on the committees? Okay, now selection of advisory board members, Housing Authority. Yes, Counselor Duncan.
I'd like to nominate Rex Jordan.
Okay, got Rex.
Second.
Got a second? All in favor of Rex, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Yes, Counselor Austin.
I'd like to nominate E.O. Smith.
Okay,
Second.
EO Smith, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I would like to nominate Daryl Legg also.
Okay.
Second.
Motion, Darrell Legg, got a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Darrell Legg, you're good. Is that it on the advisory? 3? Okay, we can always add to that as we need to, as we go along. Resolution electing the office of Secretary of the Tribal Council.
Yes, sir. I would like to nominate Janice Taylor.
Motion for Janice Taylor, got a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations, Janice.
Sir.
Okay, now, we're dropping down to resolution number 4. EO, you want to take that one?
Before you start, Speaker, I'd like to be added as a sponsor.
Okay. Number 4. Got it?
Resolution confirming the appointment of Lynn Carson as a board member of the Cherokee Nation Business LLC.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? And she is here. Any questions?
I had a question. I was just looking, thank you for being here. I'm sorry I missed your phone call last night. I was kind of busy with a few things. I'm just kind of going over your resume here. Impressive resume with education goes, and I mean, you've had a great career with that. What kind of business and investment qualifications do you have on your experience?
What you don't see is because it's at the very beginning of, right after I got out of college, I have a degree in business with marketing and tourism. And right out of graduating from college, I went to Dallas and worked with Grossman and Associates.
Right.
It's a business that buys resorts and other businesses and refurbishes them. I worked with them. After coming back to help my parents, I worked with Blue Ribbon Downs as in the marketing department for several years. I decided I wanted to switch gears and went into education.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Anybody else? Yeah, Councilor Critton.
Yeah. Ms. Carson, we had a good phone conversation yesterday. I was on duty, but I managed to do it.
I heard the kids screaming in the background.
Now, just tell the committee a little bit about your thoughts and kind of what you explained about your feelings for Adair County, please.
Yes, I would be happy to do that. I'm from Adair County. I was born and raised in Stillwell. I still reside there. I grew up in Greasy, in the Greasy community. I know how it is to provide jobs, what the need is for Adair County, where I think we're probably the most poverty-stricken county in the Cherokee Nation. It's very important. I hold that very dear to my heart. I think I bring a unique perspective because I am from a rural area of what our citizens need.
I just want to say a few words here. If anyone here will confirm that I've been as far as C&B go, I've been consistently a abstainer.
Mm-hmm.
And simply because, being elected to this seat, just being an educator and, Adair County guy, I really didn't, study up on all the entities within Cherokee Nation,
Mm-hmm.
so. But I still believe that I would think this council would have more say-so in some of the things that go on at CNB, and I believe that. I've had employees. I've tried to help in a dire situation where they were fighting for their job, and I felt like it was kind of me and them against the giants of C&B at times, and you know, there was just, like I say, simply, I believe this body should have more say-so, and you know, there's some money spent here and there, some we agree with, some we don't, and we've got a new administration here, obviously, and I've been an abstainer because I believe what I believe, that we should be more involved in what the C&B board takes care of. But having said that, with the new administration, I'm trying to look at things a little different for no other reason than my people, my folks that I represent. And, you know, could some of us stay sold up about things? Could some of us be negative about things? Sure, that does my people zero good. Now, being from Adair County, I like a good fight every now and then. And I'm not backing down from that at all. But ma'am, I think, you know, with our conversation, I think you could really help Canaan and I. You know, when we talk about tag agencies, when we talk about jobs, when we talk about that Cherokee C&I employee or casino employee that maybe nobody in the world else wants to listen to me.
I agree.
I really think that you could help us help them. So you're going to be my first yes in a long time.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I will. That is, I hold that very dear to my heart, the Adair County people.
We'll be in touch, because I truly believe that you can help us do that.
I will.
Very well put.
Yep.
Yes, Councilor Duncan.
First of all, I want to commend in front of this body, in front of the audience and live stream, and I want to commend Councilor Crittenden for those words, because that's tough to do, is to say that, and I commend you for that. And you and I have had lots of long conversations about that very topic. About I think we got some big, great things moving forward. And I kind of want to echo something that Sean said on this topic of it's good to have somebody from Adair County that's going to be up there. And I think after visiting with you and conversations that we've had, I think you're going to be very helpful and an asset to Adair County, in particular for Sean and I's portion of that. But in the grand scheme of things, you're going to be very beneficial because you're going to bring a rural perspective to that board, and that's going to help us nationwide and throughout Indian country. So I'm glad to support you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Councilor Buzzer.
Yes. I had talked to you yesterday, and I'd asked you about your participation within the Cherokee elections, and you said that you'd participated all along. The other thing that I'm concerned about and hear a lot of talk about is, do you have other kinfolk? Do you have kin that works in the Cherokee Nation? And how many, if you know that?
I do. My brother is Todd Embry, the Attorney General, and my niece is Traylina Scott, who is up for treasurer.
And what, tell me or tell us in your own words, what you would bring to the C&E board.
Well, I think I would bring a very unique perspective, being a female and being from a rural area. I have a wide spectrum of work experiences. I have a very diverse and extensive educational background, and I think that I could bring a lot to the table.
I know before, and I made this statement before, we seem to have a lot of board members that are from Cherokee County. And my assumption is we need to get board members elected from different parts of the country. I'm glad to hear that you're not from Cherokee County.
I'm from Greasy, Oklahoma.
I don't have anything against the guys from Cherokee County, because I'm sure they're all good board members, but I think we need to be more diverse than what we're looking at board members. So, Chief, I think you've heard me say that before, so.
I'm from Craig County.
He's from Craig County. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, got Councilor
I
Vasquez?
just have a comment, yes. As a
female on the leadership team of this tribal council. It warms my heart to have the second female on our board, CMB board. I thank you for serving. I think you will serve us well, but I'm just especially pleased to sponsor you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, anybody else? Yeah, Counselor Smith?
How long have you been on the environmental board?
5 years.
5 years. And you do a great job over there.
Thank you.
You good?
Yes.
Counselor Shaw?
Hi. I appreciated your phone call last night. Do you know anything about casino operations?
Casinos, I have to be honest, no. I do know a lot about the hospitality industry, which I feel it falls under, working with Grossman Associates, working with Blue Ribbon Downs. I do have a degree in that. As far as casinos, no, but I feel like the CMB, the businesses it's so diverse that I will be willing to delve right in and learn all I can about it.
Do you feel that there's a conflict of interest in any way since your brother is with CMB now?
Absolutely not.
And do you have any federal contracting experience?
No, I do not.
Okay, and have you had any experience working with 8A companies?
No, I do not.
That's where they receive special treatment by the government?
No, I do not.
Another question?
Good. Anybody else? Yes.
Let me just follow up real quick. I need to understand this, and everybody in the room can help me understand this. And no disrespect to anyone. We lost a very good council attorney when her brother won the council seat. And you know, I've already explained my feelings for you, and I'm looking forward to the future. But since everybody's here, I need to understand this. You know, the C&B board makes decisions similar to this council, and you know, I think former Chief Baker has a brother that represents C&B, and of course Todd will be representing C&B. And bottom line, I don't know why we had to lose. No disrespect to Mr. Brown, of course. I'm sure he's going to be a good one. I don't understand why we had to lose Kalina. You know, comparing the two entities. Can somebody help me with that?
Who wants to try?
Well, I can't speak about Toledo because that was this body's doing, but
Oh,
what
yeah.
I can tell you about this is that the attorneys that work for CMB do not represent the board. The board has their own attorney. So Todd Hembry, being attorney for Cherokee Nation businesses, he does not provide legal advice or representation to the board members.
He don't do
He
that.
does not. The board has their own attorney,
Who is that?
Rex Earlstar. And the
Now, where's he from?
attorneys-
What county?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with them. The attorneys who work for CMB work in
No, I'm serious.
office.
I've
And I'm not
Right.
trying to be condescending, I'm
Right.
just trying to answer the question. And Tim Baker works for Cherokee Nation businesses. He did not provide when Bill John was our chief, legal advice to the nation. So they're related, but there's
right. I
no
get that.
relationship
So I
in
think
their
you
legal
said, I
representation.
think you said it. So C&B board gets in a bind. Even a sibling of a C&B gets in a bind business-wise. Bill John and Todd don't represent them. The C&B board.
No. The board doesn't, they have individual legal representation, and they take action. They vote on
Right.
things. When there's, for example, a lawsuit filed against Cherokee Nation businesses, somebody slips and falls at the casino, and they file a lawsuit, that is defended by the group of attorneys that works for Cherokee Nation businesses. Bob Huffman, Jim Baker, Dina Guy, Jan Eames, Todd Hembry.
Is the board separate from?
Yes, they're the governing body. They don't, the money's not theirs, the day-to-day decision-making is not theirs. The business is represented by those attorneys. So Mr. Hembry will provide no legal representation or advice directly to Linda or any other board member of Cherokee Nation businesses. And I can tell you the difference again, although it was this body. To Lena, if she is Cherokee Nation Tribal Council attorney, would be providing advice to and representing her brother.
Council, sorry.
Okay, we good?
Well, yeah, and just, so, as a whole, the council, you know, I don't feel like I had anything to do with her being dismissed, but that's a pretty good answer.
And you know, we looked at every loophole we could to try to retain her. I even got an opinion from several attorneys that I knew, and if she had been full-time employee, it would have been acceptable. But being on contract, we just couldn't make. And you know, and for the council's sake, I'm going to tell you guys, the mere perception of a conflict, I didn't want to go there. And that's it for your information. So we just know there's a mere perception conflict, but stay away from that. We're elected officials. How about that? Okay,
Well,
Councilor Shaw.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, the CNB Board of Directors deals with compensation for the employees. That compensation is directly going to affect your family members. How do you feel about that?
I feel that I would be completely neutral and do what was right and, to the best of my knowledge, what would be fair.
Okay, and one other question, I'd just like your personal opinion on the executive salary at CNB. What is your personal feeling about that salary being available to Cherokee Nation Tribal Council?
I don't think I'm qualified to answer that at this point. I'd have to look into that and study, because I really just don't know how to answer that right now.
Are you familiar with the Tribal Council as a form of government?
Yes.
And you don't have an opinion on that?
Oh, no. I think that, yes, that, are you talking about, I guess I'm not understanding your question.
Do you feel that those salaries should be available to Tribal Council? The CNB Board of Directors?
I really am not sure how to answer that question.
Not just the Board of Directors, but our executives for CNB.
Do what now?
Not just CNB, the Board of Directors, but CNB, our executives.
Uh-huh.
I personally feel those salaries should be available to Tribal Council. We represent the Cherokee Nation, our citizens, and that information has not been available. I just wanted your personal opinion on that.
Well, I'd have to really look into that. I'm not sure. I mean, I really don't know what you're speaking about right now. I'd have to get in there and look. But if you're just asking my opinion right now without knowing anything about it, I would have to say yes. You know, I'm sorry. I just don't know enough about the situation.
Good answer.
Thank you.
Until you get if you get it confirmed.
Yes.
Yes. All right, anybody else, and we'll take the vote and move on. Okay, you had your questions. We all went around the table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good questions. Okay, moving down to item number 5. I'm going to ask Councilor Shambaugh, would you take that?
Yes, this is a resolution confirming the appointment of Linda O'Leary as a member of the Cherokee Nation Gaming Commission. And before we vote, Speaker, I think I was supposed to be a sponsor of this legislation. I would like to be added.
No second.
Got a motion and a second. Is Linda O'Leary here?
Hello, Council.
For you guys that do not know, she is a former council member, and she was the director of our registrar there and did an outstanding job. So any questions you might have, here she is. We got a motion and a second. Any questions? Yes, Councilor Shaw.
Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Linda, do you have any background in interpreting highly complex compliance regulations?
I think I do. I was registrar for 6.5 years, and I've sat on the council for 4 years, from 2004 to 2007. And I run my own business. We had rules and regulations, a business I've run for about 28 years. We had lots of rules and regulations with the state, and I managed a multi-million-dollar situation in those cases. And I believe I'm familiar with them, and what I don't know, I certainly am willing to learn.
Do you have any relatives working for CNB, any CNB entity or on the Gaming Commission? And do you understand gaming regulation?
I'm familiar with some of them. As I said, I've served in different capacities, and I think I'm fairly familiar with some of them. And I certainly will acquaint myself with the balance of what I don't know.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor No Fire.
I'm just curious, have you received a job description of what you're going to be doing up there as a gaming commissioner? I'm new
Yes,
to it.
yes.
Okay.
I'm familiar with it, very familiar with it, Wes,
Okay,
Council.
perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Congratulations.
No.
2. Like to say anything, Linda? Would you like to
Sorry.
say anything?
I just want to say that in serving in your seat and from 2004 to 2007, I know the responsibilities you have. I appreciate the questions. I just admire your work, and we want to continue for the best interest of our great Cherokee Nation. And I'm pleased to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks.
Okay, number 6, you want to take that, Councilor Vasquez?
Yes, be happy to. This is a resolution confirming the nomination of Kimberly Teehee as delegate to the United States House of Representatives for the Cherokee Nation. I move for its approval.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Kimberly Teehee is here. Question, Councilor No Fire?
Point of order on the direction it's going. The job description has not even been voted on yet. I think that's voted number number 13. We'll actually have a delegate position to be not voted on first before the actual person gets voted on. When we take 13 first before number 7.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
so number 13 is an act establishing the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. So in that case, it's a cabinet position that must be established by act of council. In this case, it's a delegate to Congress, so I've asked the council to confirm the nomination based on that constitutional authority.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Clarification.
Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. Got a motion second. Any questions? Yeah, Councilor.
Hi. I'm wondering, because this is an appointment that's being made, and I'm unaware of constitutional authority of any kind about how the delegate is to be established. I don't think it says anywhere in the Constitution that this is to be a position appointed by the chief. I don't think there's anything legislatively that spells this out either. I think we have a void here, in fact, about whether this is to be an appointment or whether it's to be a position that is elected by the people of the Cherokee Nation. And I think that, I mean, I'm not in any way opposed to this, and I want you to know I'm not in any way opposed to you as the nominee here. But I just am concerned that we're kind of putting the cart in front of the horse here, that the process, and maybe there are things going on behind the scenes that I haven't been briefed about or that other members of the council haven't been briefed about, but we're establishing, we're nominating, we're appointing for a position that Congress has not established, that I'm not aware of any strategy. And as I said, I would feel more comfortable about this if we had some of those gaps filled in before we move to what I would kind of regard as the final action in the process of steps to get to the nomination or election of a delegate to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, if I could.
Yeah, is Sarah Hill here? I'm going to give you a couple minutes to explain what we're trying to do here.
Is this a pops quiz, Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
There's a legislative act that was passed by the tribal council that specifically lays out the appointment of the tribal counselor, and I believe that it says in the Constitution that person shall be appointed by the principal chief.
This is section 12 of the Cherokee Nation Constitution. In accordance with Article 12 of the Treaty of the Cherokees,
There shall be created office of delegate to the United States House of Representatives, appointed by the principal chief and confirmed by the council. The delegate shall be a citizen of the United States. Upon recognition by the United States, shall be seated in accordance with federal laws.
There's also a legislative act that goes along with that.
Okay.
It's really brief, but it also talks about appointments.
I appreciate the
It's in
clarification.
this book here, so, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Chief.
The
you
other,
wanna make
the
a
other
comment?
question that I had though about process moving forward, strategically working on this, is there anything that we can be briefed on? And I understand this may be a proprietary matter, but is there any, I have no knowledge of anything going on moving toward that.
Mr. Speaker, if I may respond to the
Yes, sir,
council.
Chief, go right ahead.
So, one thing, as a general proposition, if we waited on the Congress of the United States to give us a green light, then all of us will be long gone before the Congress of the United States invites us to seat our delegate. Secondarily, we are engaged in discussions with members of Congress, including our delegation, about the process. Now, it is not unprecedented to have a delegate in the United States House of Representatives. There are delegates now. It is unprecedented for an Indian tribe to seek the seating of a delegate based on a treaty provision, because this is very unique. So we will, once this body, as is my request, confirms Ms. Teehee, will continue to engage members of Congress and develop a plan. I mean, my sense is it literally will take an act of Congress to do that. I wouldn't expect the Congress to do it until we take the action that we're bound by the Constitution and that we should do under our treaties. Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Any more questions? Yes, Councilor Shaw?
Hi, Kim, I'm glad you're here, thank you. Can you all tell us what the proposed budget for the delegate to Congress looks like, and what roles and responsibilities and authority will the delegate have?
I would nominate Kim Teehee for this position if she didn't work for the Cherokee Nation and wasn't already on the payroll. But as it happens, she is. And so her duties, you know, if you look at a lot of people that work for the Cherokee Nation, it says other duties as assigned. Well, this is a big one. And so she will continue in the capacity she's in. We won't have to add to the budget for this. In terms of duties and responsibilities, those I'm confident will evolve. And Kim, having vastly more experience on Capitol Hill than I have, can speak to that. But in terms of your budget question, there is no de minimis, I would say de minimis impact on the budget that might involve travel.
Okay, Kim, who will you take direction from? Will it be the chief, council, both? How is this going to work?
Well, our Constitution indicates that a delegate should be appointed by the chief and confirmed by the council, right? And so, and our treaties gave a Cherokee Nation a right, 3 treaties gave Cherokee Nation right to have a delegate in the House of Representatives to represent the governmental interest of the tribe. And so, as a delegate being appointed by leaders who are elected, you're elected, chief is elected, and to an appointed position to represent that governmental interest, I will proceed as, you know, not unlike my current role, but I will proceed in looking after the governmental interests of the Cherokee Nation. So working with the leaders of the nation would be my, you know, primary responsibility.
You know, I had the opportunity to be in Washington, D.C. about a year ago, about right now. And I have to say, Kim did an amazing job in opening a lot of doors for us that helped us pass HUD 184 in the 4 districts in Arkansas.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Austin?
Yes, help me make sure I understand something correct. When the Congress actually accepts this and the act of Congress that it would take, then this would be, the cost of this would actually be absorbed through the U.S. Congress's budget, correct? Because just like our congressman's gets his paycheck from the U.S. Congress, the U.S. Treasury, and his staff is also paid for by the U.S. Treasury for the staffing needs for that. I'm assuming as a delegate, they are offered the same advantages.
So the framework that we can look at, to answer your question, is how Congress appropriates dollars
for not only seated members of Congress, but also the non-voting delegates of Congress too. And appropriations goes to their offices, to them to have offices and to have staff there. So if that's, using that as the framework, that's already what presently exists for the U.S. territory delegates now.
Which would imply that you would be funded to have offices within the district and an office in Washington, D.C., funded through the capital, through the U.S. Congress's budget.
Right. Well, that's those are the details that we're working through now.
Okay, you good? Counselor Shambaugh?
Reading Article 6, Section 12, it says there shall be created the office. I mean, this is something that we could have done long ago, obviously. I think it's high time that we have done this. It lists it pretty plainly that gives us authority to do so. It's obvious that you're very qualified in your position too from your past, so I'm happy to support Chief's nominee, and I'm happy to support you.
Thank you.
Councilor Buzzer?
Yeah, Kim, congratulations. I've known Kim for several years and know the integrity of this lady here. But Kim, I want to ask you a question about partisan politics. How would you handle that? I know you served under the Obama administration, and just sometimes the partisan stuff for the tribe just kind of concerns me a lot. So.
Well, and I appreciate the question. I began my career here as an intern, if you look at my resume, for Wilma Mankiller. That's a pretty good teacher, I think we would all agree. I learned from working with her and seeing firsthand how she worked with people on both sides of the aisle, people who were the polar opposite politically of her. We need only also look at our own history when former Chief Ross Swimmer, a Republican, who later became the Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs, asked a liberal Democrat to be his running mate for deputy chief, not because they couldn't get past partisan politics, but because the job at hand required both of them to work closely together. Watching those kinds of things and communication and engagement is what led me, when I went to D.C., to work on a bipartisan basis, overseeing the bipartisan Congressional Native American Caucus. And when I got there, because of partisan debates, Indian tribes were in trouble in the House of Representatives. When I left the House of Representatives 11 years later, every anti-Indian measure was defeated that was proposed. Every bill and appropriations measures we wanted, we fought for, we succeeded in getting those. Not because I'm a Democrat, but because I know what it's like and I know how to work with both parties. And so I have always worked on a bipartisan basis. To this day, I work on a bipartisan basis. I have not had the door shut on me because I'm a Democrat. And I'll just give you a more recent example. Many of you are familiar with our Stigler Act proposal. We drafted the legislation. We had the meetings with the Department of the Interior in this administration, the Solicitor's Office, the politicals, and guess what? They supported our legislation. They took a chance on becoming very familiar on something they could have just set aside in order to support our legislation. That bill went through both chambers, the House and the Senate, without a single objection. We made a technical amendment because of Senator Inhofe's request, and it went back to the House to go through again without a single objection. And this is unusual for a piece of legislation to go through without one single objection. It was voice voted all the way through the House, the Senate, the House floor, the Senate floor, back again to the House on the House floor. And so I think that demonstrates clearly my ability when I lead the charge on getting things like that through Congress. A very clear example, just like our outpatient facility. That's $105.1 million in staffing and operations that the Indian Health Service is supposed to provide to us, but only Congress is authorized to provide the funding for us, right? So guess what we had to do? In order to get that amount of funding out of Congress, we had to ensure that our request was put in the President's budget request, President Trump's budget request that he submits annually to Congress. FY19, we got 3/4 of funding. We have it now, presently $26.2 million. in the FY20 budget, in his president request, is $75.8 million. That's the last of 3 quarters for FY20. And now we're working on FY21 funding, 105, getting it fully as our base funding. The ability to work across partisan lines is happening right now. We have had great success in making sure that whatever we need to advance our interests and to take care of our constituency, that we are able to do so effectively, working with this administration and working with Congress and working with our delegation. So I believe I have a proven track record. I believe that, that I have the ability to work across partisan lines. I would never presume to discount our own delegation, Congressman Mullen, Congressman Cole, for being knocked out of the running for something that maybe a Democrat would normally hold because they were allied with the Republican Party, when in fact they have also proven to work on a bipartisan basis and have great successes in Indian country. And so, that's kind of how I would answer that question.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Dobbins?
Oh, I guess Councilor Buzzer was reading my mind, which is scary.
Yes, Councilor Deere?
Sponsoring this, I've known Kim Teehee for a while. I think it speaks on a good record note for Cherokee Nation to take this act and go forward and send somebody like Kim Teehee with a background, because if you guys have been to the Hill, and some haven't, I've had the luxury to go there and talk with different people, but where we are is they look at people for Indian country when they're talking about Indian stuff. Well, I'm glad Kim has that background, but she has walked in the counties of Indian country, and she knows people in Indian country, then she knows our ways, and a lot of times in Indian country, when you're trying to fill a position, you have a lot of Cherokee citizens, but they might not have that petroleum engineer, so we have to look. But in this instance, with Kim having the background and the resume and dealing with Obama, dealing with Indian country, I think it's basically can merge that part together, and I think she's going to be real successful in helping us explain it to those guys on the Hill about Indian country firsthand, instead of looking at somebody they think is from Indian country. And I'm very happy to sponsor Kim Teehee with her background. And that's just my thoughts, because it's community. I'm a big guy about community, as you guys know, and I think it's going to be a blessing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
Okay, everybody's had a chance to make comments. We'll go around one
Counselor
more.
Coates.
I know. But everybody's had a chance to make comments. We're going to try to take it one more round here. Councilor Coates?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for your responses. I am I'm gaining confidence. A lot of it. Thank you.
Yeah.
It did bring up one question that actually was brought to me by a constituent, and I'm sure that everyone here has already considered that one of the arguments that may be levied against us in attempting to do this is that why is it that the citizens of the Cherokee Nation all across this country, wherever they may be, get to have 2 people essentially representing them in Congress when everybody else only gets 1. And I'm sure you have anticipated that kind of question. Can you share with us what your feelings are about it?
Sure. I have a couple of responses, actually. I think, if you look at all of us in this room, we get to vote in state elections, right? We live in a state representative's district, a state senator's district. We live in a congressional district. We get to vote on those, right? But uniquely, because we are citizens of a tribal nation, we get to vote in our own tribal elections too, and we get to elect our leaders. It's kind of similar to the question, I think. And so, but I also want to be clear about this as well. If you read our 3 treaties, Treaty of Hopewell and Treaty of New Echota especially, which by the way is Senate ratified, then you'll recognize that the delegate, the treaty was signed with a sovereign nation, and that the delegate is there to represent the governmental interest of the nation. That's unlike you or me voting individually for our legislator, for our congressperson. The delegate is there solely to represent the governmental interest of the nation. The treaty wasn't with the people, right? The treaty is with the Cherokee Nation, and the delegate represents the governmental interest of the nation.
Okay, Councilor No
Councilor
Fire.
Burton, before we move on, I'd like to be added as a sponsor, please.
Okay,
Nomination.
Councilor No Fire.
I just had a question. I know you have a great history with tribal politics, and like you said, having that representative and having that delegate up there, I think it's a great exercising our right, our sovereign right, and expressing it. The thing is that there's a lot of other things that go up on Congress. There's a lot of other issues that get talked about. There's a lot of other things that don't pertain to tribal politics and tribal interests of our government. Where is that going to put you in positions when things come up on the Hill of talks about other interests that don't pertain to us? Are you going to get involved in those, or are you going to abstain from those?
Oh, if as a delegate, my job is to represent the governmental interest. So while our governmental interest reflects on us as a tribe, as a sovereign nation, we are also part of the United States. So the budget discussions, the shutdown discussions, the current dialogue that's ongoing in Washington, D.C., I don't think we could turn a blind eye in those discussions. But also keep in mind that if the non-voting delegate, they don't have voting power on the floor of the chamber of the House. Their power is in the committees, the committee assignments. So, and what those committees stand for. So there are some restrictions on the voting power. The voting power is, for a non-voting delegate, is left to the committee actions. And so certainly the discussions taking place in those committees. And then if there are opportunities like appropriations, which we have a significant interest in, we would take an active stance on those too. The budget is something that we all talk about, whether you're a tribal nation or not. And I would seek guidance from the government, because that's, again, my job would be to represent the governmental interest of the nation.
Absolutely. I appreciate that thought. It's just my curiosity of knowing where our politics will stand at with you on those interests, because I know this nation, unfortunately, is very blue or very red one day to the next, and that's something that I hope doesn't influence our representative up there, and the only representative that we should have is the interest of our people, period. Doesn't matter which partisan line you're on. So
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good? Still want your
Sure, quick.
Councilor Shambo?
I think reading even farther down in Article 12, or Section 12, what's exciting about having you there, it says a delegate shall make regular reports to the council and principal chief. That in itself is to keep us informed what's going on, is something we've never had. And that goes to what Councilman No Fire is saying. It'd be great to be informed and to know what's going on in our government, because we haven't had that, and you can give us that. And I think it's exciting to finally have that, to give it to our council and our chief. I think it's important.
I agree. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Austin, are we about through here?
Yeah, I just want to say she's also not from Cherokee County. That's not a bad thing, is it? She is from Rogers County, I might add. I'm very proud to represent her mother and father. And
We're from Adair County.
They are from Adair County. So see, they walk the same path as my family did. I know her father is a Cherokee speaker.
So is my mother.
And your mother. And they worked in Native American healthcare was their careers. So that really adds some texture to why Kimberly Teehee is specifically qualified to represent the Cherokee Nation in the U.S. Congress. Thank you.
Commend Chief Hoskins for making this call, because, and Kim, this person, Senator Inouye, I always like to hear him talk. He was a strong advocate for Indian tribes, and his favorite saying, and I quoted it many times, is assert your sovereignty, don't sit back and defend it.
That's right.
We're asserting our sovereignty here. And, the treaty may be 100 years old, but it's still a treaty. If they're going to have us conform to some of their regs, let's have them conform to some of ours. So, having said that, Kim, I know you'll be a great representative up there, and you already have been. So, something that you do well. So, we appreciate you and your family for looking at this in a bold way. So, a motion and a second. All
Chair,
in favor?
I'd like to be added to the sponsor.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Counselor Duncan, you want to take the next one?
Yes, sir. This is a resolution confirming the reappointment of Frankie Hargis as Registrar of the Cherokee Nation. Put that in the form of a motion.
Second. Motion, second. Is Frankie here? Is she working? Frankie, you want to come to the front here? Got a motion and a second. Any questions?
Shall I?
Gotta be careful what you ask Frankie. She'll answer you. Okay, not any questions?
Smart group.
Yes. Counselor Duncan.
I don't have a question. I just want to say, I know you've already been doing a great job. I've worked with you on a few cases in registration. You're doing a great job, and I look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to be
Counselor
added
Coe?
as a sponsor also on this, please. Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Frankie, I did have a question. I've heard throughout the last 4 or 5 months that we still have a big backlog of people that are registered and probably is not a tribal citizens, and where are we on that?
We are still researching several. We have found quite a few.
Have you?
Yeah, and once we do, their descendants are no longer eligible to enroll.
Do you have a number on any of those things right now?
Off the top of my head, I don't. I can get that for the next report, but
Oh, yeah, if you would, I'd be interested in hearing.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, is that good? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Frankie, congratulations. Got anything to say?
Thank you.
Let's give Frankie. Okay, moving to number 8, Counselor Dobbins, you want to take that?
Is Chad here? It's a resolution confirming the nomination of Chad C. Harsha as Secretary of Natural Resources of the Cherokee Nation. Put that in the form of a motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Chad is here. Okay, any questions? All right. Okay, sponsor right here to the left. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you. Does he have anything to say, though?
I do, actually. I appreciate the opportunity to serve my tribe in this way. This is the work that I'm passionate about doing, and I truly love coming to work every day. We've made a lot of progress in these initiatives underneath the Secretary of Natural Resources Office over the last 4 years, and I've had a good opportunity to work closely with Sarah in that way, and I look forward to the years ahead, and I appreciate the faith and confidence you guys have showed in me. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Regulation.
Okay, number 9, Counselor Legg, you want to take that?
You bet. Resolution confirming the appointment of Sarah Hill as Attorney General of the Cherokee Nation. Second.
Got a motion and a second, and Sarah Hill is here. If you have any questions for her, be careful on what questions you ask here. Counselor Dobbins, you have a question?
Yeah. Hi, Sarah. We visited briefly about the role of the Attorney General's office in our electoral process, and I think a fairly strong sample of counselors is interested in election reform, and I know you're receptive to looking at that again. I appreciate that. But I just wanted to, there's a strong, many of us in here, I want to look at that, and I appreciate your candor and willing to look at the AG's position in our electoral process.
Well, the council certainly is in the driver's seat on legislation, and of course, any questions like that you want to talk about, I'm always open to talking about them.
Okay, we have asked the Election Commission to draft some recommendations as well, and the council members, we will do that, and we'll be getting with you on that real soon. Yes, Councilor Crittenden? You have a question?
You want to follow up?
Well, what I would want to say, with the indulgence of the chair, I would like to say a little bit about this nomination,
okay.
if you so choose. I've been a tribal council attorney for 12 years, been the Attorney General for 8 years. So that's 20 years of governmental experience with the Cherokee Nation. I've seen scores of elected officials and appointed officials in my time, all very talented people, were passionate for the Cherokee Nation. But I can say without hesitation that there were few, if any, more prepared to embark on the position that they've been chosen than Sarah Hill. You know her achievements. You've seen them. You know her qualifications. They're unparalleled. But I want to bring to attention something else, and that's her honesty and integrity. She will protect this nation. She will protect the Cherokee people. When she tells you what the law is, you can rely on it and you can trust it. I can think of no better person to serve as Attorney General for the Cherokee Nation than Sarah Hill, and that would include myself. Many officials, and I see them across the rules, many officials elected and appointed wear lapel pins. It's a symbol of our office. It's a reminder of the fiduciary duties that we have and the responsibilities that we have to the Cherokee people. I have one. This is the last time I'm going to wear it. I'm going to place that right there. And it is my hope that all 17 members of this body approve her confirmation because she will recognize and acknowledge that fiduciary duty, and she will recognize and acknowledge those responsibilities, and she will wear, and I hope that pin becomes hers here in just a few months, and she will wear it with dignity and distinction. I am certain of it.
Any more questions? Yes, Councilor Cope?
I just want to say that I gasped with delight when I saw this nomination.
With that, I'll step down.
Somebody give him a pen.
I have so much respect for Sarah Hill. I have listened to her about Five Tribes water law for many years. I've I think brought her in to speak to classes and various groups about it. She came out to Los Angeles to speak to our organization out there about it. It was a well-attended event, lots of questions, great information. And I echo everything that Mr. Hembry says about Ms. Hill's integrity. I've never seen any indication of anything except the very highest level of integrity and passion for this nation. And so I would like to be added to as a sponsor to this nomination as well. And yippee. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Austin.
Sir, you want to say anything before we vote? It sounds like you've got a good support group as of now.
It's been it is a humbling experience to be asked to serve in a position like this, and I had a very sleepless night thinking about the responsibility that it carries with it, because I take it extremely seriously, and you'll certainly have my best effort on everything that I do, like you always have, and I'll do the very best that I can to do honor to this office, which I've had the privilege of working with all of the people that have ever held this office, I suppose, and have learned a lot from all of them. And having the support of the Tribal Council, it means a lot to me to have the support of the people that were elected to lead our country, and certainly it's a great honor to be nominated. So just know that if there are issues that arise or the questions that you have, I may not always know the answers, although some of you accuse me of sometimes having all the answers. I really don't. And I would always work hard to try to get them for you and to answer the questions that you have, to do the things that need to be done. And certainly I'll have the assistance of a fantastic team at the AG's office.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, item number 10, Councilor Taylor, would you take that, please?
I certainly would. This is a resolution confirming the appointment of Tina Glory Jordan as Secretary of State of the Cherokee Nation, and I move for its approval. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Questions? Yes, Councilor No Fire.
Just have a question. I think we just had spoken about this a little bit earlier whenever it comes to conflicts of interests. In fact, Speaker, I think you just stated today that the mere appearance is something that we don't want this elected body to be done. And I think that's something that has to be addressed on this council with this appointment nomination, because we have Tina, who is highly respected and by all means qualified. I think she's done a great job when she was on council, speaker, and so on and so forth legally. But she is married to one of our council members, and that does raise some cause of questions and concerns, because the appearance of impropriety, though not illegal, can sometimes lead us to maybe making decisions or accidentally making decisions from one party to the next. I mean, if we're supposed to have separation of bodies between the administration and our legislative branch, when we take votes and those things that come down to us might be something. How is that going to be handled in this situation here?
Well, first off, we don't do any pillow talk.
Don't have to worry about that.
I've spent almost 40 years as a lawyer, and I think probably my husband knows less about my law practice than anybody in town. He'll probably tell you the story that he worked with an individual for a number of years, and one day the individual said, "Well, you know, I got a divorce." And he said, "Well, no, I didn't know you were divorced." And he said, "Well, your wife got me divorced." And he said, and this has always been our unspoken word at home, we don't discuss business at home. We leave it at the office. We leave it at work. Now, as to what is a conflict, this body has determined that in Title 28, Section 19 of the code, the laws that you have made, that there is no conflict. I hope that I can gain each one of your favor to vote for me. I will have an open door policy for all of you. My duties are prescribed by our chief, and currently he has assigned, I believe it's 14 departments that I will be working with in our day-to-day operation. And I think I probably have worked with every one of those departments in some capacity over the last probably 37 years. I think it was 37 years ago that I took a contract from former Chief Ross Swimmer to work Indian Child Welfare. I was the first attorney working Indian Child Welfare. Worked that 4 or 5 years. That was a relatively new law. That is now one of the departments that I will be working with on a daily basis. Actually, I have worked in all 3 branches of government, having been the first district judge. Myself and former Chief Chad Smith worked in the district court together. Then I later worked for him at the end of my time when I was executive director of the Arkansas Riverbed Authority, where I worked with 3 tribes and 3 leaders at that time, one leader of which is still governing, Governor Anatopi, that works with the Chickasaws. He was one of the leaders. Wilma Mankiller was the leader that had me take that job. That allowed me, fortunately, I traveled a lot to Washington, worked with a number of different senators and representatives on that project. So I feel comfortable if I'm ever needed to go to Washington through the self-governance or government relations, which are also 2 departments that will be working with me. That would be Kim Teehee, who just came in front of you, and Karen Ketcher, that you will see quite a bit because I think she reports to one of your committees. And we talked a little bit about her work that she's doing now with securing the office that's needed here at Tahlequah that will work closely, the agency superintendent, that would work closely with the Muskogee director, regional director in Washington. I've also been fortunate to sit on your body for a period of 8 years. Was fortunate to sit where former Chief Joe Byrd is now. Worked with Joe Byrd when he was the chief. I've been fortunate that I was allowed to work with every chief from Ross Swimmer until now. This was totally unexpected that I would be asked to work with Chief Hoskin. I probably, and I think I did try to not take it several times.
Tried to talk me out of it, Mr. Speaker.
My age is 63, so I think at some point I'm going to be age limited in where I go from this point. But I appreciate the opportunity. I think through my experience and through my background, through my education, I was very fortunate. I graduated with a class of 37 at Halbert High School. One of the first classes I was in at OSU had more kids in that class than the whole school of Halbert had. That's pretty daunting for a little old gal that turned up at OSU's front door at age 18. And 7 years later, I was fortunate enough to have a good education from OSU and a good education from University of Tulsa. And I have Cherokee Nation to thank for that, because Cherokee Nation, had it not been for the educational opportunities that they gave me through a scholarship, I wouldn't have been able to get that education. My family has been in service to Cherokee Nation for ever since I can remember. Some of you may have known my dad, who was on the council. My mother was on the council for a short period of time. And I will tell you, I sponsored the amendment to the act in 2012 that opened the opportunity for every Cherokee, if they thought they had the experience and background, to apply for a job at Cherokee Nation, regardless of who worked here, whether it was their kinfolk, close kinfolk or distant kinfolk. I had the pleasure of talking to the Federal Transportation. I think he was the Assistant Director of Federal Transportation for the country yesterday. And I said, we're all one big family. If you go back 6 steps, 6 degrees, everybody in this room is going to be hard put to say they're not kin to everybody else in this room. So I embraced that. I embraced it years ago before it was even popular. I have worked for other tribes, specifically the Osages. I've worked for the Chickasaws. They embrace it as a family, and they look for the most experienced. I believe my experience and background can lend support for the next 4 years, and I would appreciate the opportunity to do so.
Very well said. You know, I've worked with Tiny in many capacities, and she has volunteered her legal service to land probates. I remember years ago when we were having issues with doing probates for our people, you helped me putting $50,000 into that program of doing probates and Indian child welfare. She was a former judge, and you know, you're one of the most diverse people I think I have known and watched you when you were speaker. And I don't know, Chief, I'm not sure you could have found somebody anywhere that could actually delegate and take the position that you just put her in. You really found a blue chipper there, and I support her wholeheartedly, and I know she will do what's best for the tribe, because her people has always done what's best for the tribes. Her father, you know, and mother, and her ancestors. So You know, we're fortunate that she'd even consider it, because she'd go work for any other tribe.
I agree with that, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate it.
Yes. Counselor Buzzer.
Well, I had reservations when I saw you were from Cherokee County, but but I just want to say, you know, I've known Tina for several years. I've worked with her dad, and I know they were good people. So, and I appreciate, Tina, that you were on your resume. I had questions about that, but you up front said that you resigned from the Housing Authority position and also the Gaming Commission. That was my concern, so that was taken care of. So you'll do a good job. I know you and know your family, and I know you'll do a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Counselor Crittenden.
So you're going to be over a few departments, 14? Or
I'll be assisting those departments, yes.
just kind of, when it comes down to it, kind of maybe in charge of them, or they will answer to you?
Well, they roll up to the Secretary of State position.
All right, and I've had lots of times where, you know, a constituent brings something, a need or something, and, you know, I bring it up, and, you know, it seemed to be, let me see what the director thinks. Let me see what, and that's good practice, of course.
Yes.
But let me see what the director thinks. But you're not opposed if you really believe that Cherokee person is needing something, needing help, and we can some way help them. I've known you long enough that you're going to say, I'm glad you got that title of executive director, but I'm going to use my title. Let's help that person.
I will have an open door policy, Sean. Any needs of the council, and that is one of the directives from my boss, which would be the chief, is that we say yes as much as we can and try not to say no.
But you're not afraid to step on anybody's toes to help that person.
Well, I think everybody that knows me in this room knows that I'm not afraid of anything or anybody.
Titles don't mean nothing to you.
Well, I do want my directors and the you have managers, you have directors, you have executive directors. I want everyone to feel that if they're doing their job, in fact, I've met with all of them. But we can sometimes look at code provisions, look at rules and regs. Sometimes there's two ways to interpret such.
I agree, and that's how I want my boss. I want my boss to back me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want them to, you know, there comes a time when it's, hey, I'm your boss and we need to help this
And a lot of
person.
times we can look at an issue and maybe it doesn't fit where we're trying to help them. So maybe if we move them over to something else, there are other programs. Maybe they've applied for one program and maybe that doesn't fit, but maybe we can put them over with another program. You know, that goes back to my time in housing, and of course Mr. Cooper is here, my boss that I used to have. And sometimes they would come and apply for help, but they were applying in the wrong program. So what we would try to do is look at the rules to see if there's some way that we can help them. And I know all of you all know this, there are tribal funds and there are federal funds. Federal funds have more restrictions and come many times with restraints that maybe we can't stretch them that far, but then maybe there's some tribal funds that we can help them with. I cannot sit here and say that 100% of the time we're able to help someone. You all know that from the chair that you sat in. I found that out from being on the council. Sometimes they just don't fit. You almost want to create a department where somebody goes where their problem does not fit anywhere else.
You can make this seat believe that you've done everything you can.
Possible.
Sometimes.
We've looked at every avenue.
Right.
When they walk out, we want to be sure that they feel that we have looked at every avenue to see if we can help them.
That's kind of where some friction happened between different folks, is I always, and I'm not saying any, I didn't name any names. And, but if I walked away from there thinking, I don't think they tried very hard, that didn't sit well with me. I just want someone, if we can't help, someone to convince me that, look, Shaw, absolutely no way to help them. And I think we'll do good.
I think we're going to be able to work together.
Me too.
I think we're going to make things happen this next 4 years. I'm excited, and I haven't been excited for a while, and this is, working with you all is going to be exciting.
Thank you, that's all I had to do.
Julia and I are going to start over. We're gonna start as if this is the first day we knew each other.
It's gonna be good. All right, we got a motion and a second.
I think
Councilor
I had my
Coates?
hand up earlier, yeah.
Okay. You good?
I had something to.
Okay, go right
Yeah,
ahead.
actually. I'll accept that, yes. The restart. Actually, what I wanted to say is I think we moved on. I think Councilor No Fire still had the floor, and we kind of moved on, and I saw kind of a look on his face that he still had something else to say, so I just wanted to yield my time to him.
No, I'm fine. I appreciate it, Julie. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
Speaker.
we're
I'm
good, we're
Thanks.
good.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? One abstention. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, number 11, Counselor Smith. EO?
Yes, we got a resolution confirming the nomination of Traylon L. Scott as treasurer of the Cherokee Nation.
Got a motion and a second, and she is here. And you've already met her, so if you got any specific questions, let's do it. I don't want to get into the chair of the E&F's committee. I don't like to do that, but we'll do our due diligence here. Anybody? Yes, Councilor No Fire.
Question that I had, and we've had pleasure talking about it before in the past. I did my research on what our treasurer is going to be doing from previous human resources in our job description that we actually have, or I actually haven't looked up, is that they're required to have a CPA and maintain a CPA in order to be able to qualify for this job. Is there a reason why that's not qualified in this position now?
Well, as the person who appointed or nominated Ms. Scott, I can answer that, which is I look to the Constitution as the binding legal authority for this position. Secondarily, I would look to statutes. And in the third instance, I would refer to job descriptions as guidance, but I'm certainly not going to let a job description trump the Constitution of the Cherokee Nation. The most important thing is whether the person is qualified and meets the basic qualifications under the Constitution and then possesses the skills to execute the job, and I'm supremely confident that Ms. Scott does that. And it's not just my opinion. People from her previous employer, including Doug Evans, who was the financial advisor to this body when I was on the council, said that Ms. Scott is supremely qualified to do this job. So to answer your question, Counselor, I have no doubt that she's qualified, and certainly I look to the Constitution for my guidance.
Okay, appreciate that.
If I may add a little to that additionally, so in order to qualify to sit for the CPA exam, an individual must have 5 years of education, which would include 4 years of undergrad in accounting or finance, and then a master's, 1 year master's in a finance or financial related field. I do possess both of those. I have an undergraduate degree in accounting and I have a master's in taxation. In addition to that, I have about 7 years of corporate financial management experience. Additionally, I have a Juris Doctorate, so 3 years of legal education, plus about 5 years of legal experience. And then those kind of culminated in the last year plus of work where it was specifically financial legal work. So having those all come together, I have the education and requirements. It was just the matter of after I graduated from law school, I took the bar exam, and functionally for my positions, I could do everything that a CPA could do. and a little bit more with regards to representing clients in court. So I just never had the need to actually take the bar or the CPA exam to get certified, and it was a bit of a surprise, pleasant surprise, when Chief asked me to serve in this role. And when I went to law school, I certainly didn't foresee myself ending up here, but the happiest paths are usually winding ones. So now, having been nominated for this, if this body confirms me today, it is my intention to go and sit for the CPA exam to get that certification.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, because the CPA, it's the highest credential you can get for an accounting profession. So, considering what the job would require to do, it maintains stewardship and financial assets and debt, including overall leadership of cash management, our debt management, and investment management functions of the organization of the Cherokee Nation. It ensures and maintains the corporate liquidability and the financial stability of our tribe. What possesses you, since you didn't be able to fulfill the CPA, to do this job that you're going to be entitled with? It is a very, very important role for this tribe. It's how we function. It's how we deal with C&B. And that is a very, very important role for everybody here, considering our budget falls through that, and we constantly have budget modifications monthly that we're going to need funding for.
So a couple of things there. I do believe, I'm a firm believer, and education is great. You won't ever find anybody that's more pro-education than myself. But a big portion of education is experience, and I have that experience working with financial statements, cash flows, balance sheets, adhering to GAAP, which is the generally accepted accounting principles. With that being said, I also have my legal license, which the function of the treasurer, it is in large part that under the statutes there also is a position of the controller, which delegates a lot of those more intricate accounting functions too, and that a controller falls under the purview of the treasurer. However, another one of the largest portions of the treasurer's role is to make sure that we are adhering to the laws and statutes of not only the Cherokee Nation, but of the federal government with regards to the federal dollars that we receive from grants. So there very much is a legal role in that too. And I think what makes me uniquely qualified for this position is that I not only have the financial management experience, but I also have the legal experience. So that makes me uniquely qualified to monitor both.
Have you had any previous experience with those grants and stuff that you've previously spoke about?
Yeah, I did work with the grants a bit at CNB. It's not my strongest area by any means, but in fact, I have already been in contact with Jamie Cole and have planned a grants training that I'm going to go to. That's one of the areas that I want to focus on, and I feel like maybe I know just enough to be dangerous right now, so I want to learn up on that for sure.
Well, I appreciate the answering those questions. I think one thing, one last thing I'll end with, your relations. You're married to someone specifically works over director or the editor of Phoenix. We just got through, that was your aunt that we affirmed today. I think that this body, we've constantly, we have a lot of relatives, we have a lot of friends and stuff that work here, and we're really gracious to have those people be employed here at Cherokee Nation. However, it seems that we constantly have the question come up of conflict of interest, and that's come up today a few times. Is there anything that maybe our newly Attorney General would like to get for us to affirm or make a opinion on, or something that we can refer to in the future? Obviously not today, but something that we could get in the future from them. Sarah?
That would be a case by case, I'm sure, don't you think, Sarah?
I was going to say that certainly the Attorney General can issue opinions on issues, and if there's one kicked up to me, I'll always advance it.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Counselor Shaw.
Yes, Shaylin, is it safe to say that since 2006 you've been doing a lot of litigation?
I've done some litigation, yes. That was one of my job roles.
Have you been doing more litigation than, say, accounting?
No, during that entire time that I was working as an attorney for CNB, I was the lead attorney for tax matters for Cherokee Nation businesses. So even while I was classified as an attorney, getting the legal experience, I was still doing a lot of those financial roles as well, ensuring compliance with the tax laws and regulations. And since CNB, when they branched out into international and just the diversified businesses specifically grew at such an exponential rate, it became very apparent that CNB needed a tax director fully dedicated to that. So that's when I moved from the legal department over to handle that tax role.
Are you familiar with governmental fund accounting?
Yes.
And you've had experience with that?
I've had experience with it in so much as I've had to prepare the financial statements of CNB under both the GAAP and under GASB. So we've prepared it that way, but that governmental fund accounting, it's not tremendously different. There are a few tweaks and stuff that I haven't had to do recently. I obviously learned them when I was, getting my education, and it's something that I will be refreshed on shortly, but I have every confidence that I can do that very quickly.
And one last question. Since 2006, when you graduated, by impressive schools you've attended, do you feel that there have been any changes in the laws with accounting or anything since you have not attended any of these continued hours that are required to maintain a CPA? Do you feel you have missed anything that could directly affect our tribe?
No, I don't think I've missed anything. Obviously, it has changed. It changes annually, sometimes monthly. So it's a matter of whether it had been 2 years ago or 10 years ago. I feel like you always have to stay current with what's out there now, and that's what I'm working with today. But the principles of accounting that were taught to me, debits and credits and such, haven't changed. Those are still very fundamental. The others would just be reading up on the guidance for the generally accepted accounting principles and the regulations and stuff like that. So,
Anybody else? Councilor Buzzer?
Thank you for answering those questions. I had the same concern. And I don't know if this is a question for the chief or not, but I'm going to say it. I'm concerned about what you said a while ago, Chief, about the Constitution and what was in the policy about having a CPA. I know the citizens out here that apply for jobs here to Cherokee Nation, sometimes they have like 3 years of experience. Well, somebody got 2 years and 6 months experience and we don't overlook that. That concerns me.
Well, it would concern me, Councilman, in any position. I think if we're talking about a cabinet appointment, then I think we have to look at something bigger than a job description.
I want to address
look at the
citizens of the
Constitution.
Cherokee Nation.
As to people applying for jobs, if we find that we are missing qualified candidates, whether the position is entry level or more high level, then we ought to look at that from time to time. That's what I did with my selection of cabinet, is I looked at, were they qualified under the Constitution? I talked to their colleagues, their peers, to see if they could do the job, and was satisfied that they could. And that's the case with Ms. Scott.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I think we are missing a lot of Cherokee citizens that are probably qualified that don't get those jobs because of policy sometimes. So I'm glad to hear you say we certainly look at it. So I appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Good. One last thing. You have to fill some really heavy shoes there from what we had in the past. We've had 8 years of outstanding audits.
yes.
In which your experience from a legal standpoint and being trained by one of the most outstanding financial people I can think of in Doug Evans, will you have that background to know what the finances look like at CNB and now here at the government? All I can ask is keep us informed.
Absolutely.
Keep us in compliance.
Absolutely.
And we support you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations. Audience, we have three more items here we'll try to get through, and I know you don't want to get out of those real comfortable chairs you're in, but we'll try to move this along. So, Counselor Shaw, would you take the next one?
Certainly. It's a resolution authorizing Cherokee Nation to become a member of the National Congress of the American Indian and to appoint the tribal delegate and alternates.
Second.
And I
Got a
move
motion and a second.
That sponsor, Shirley.
Me as well, please, Shirley.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, okay. Establishing a Secretary of Veteran Affairs. Counselor Duncan, you want to take that?
Yes, sir. This is an act establishing a Secretary of Veteran Affairs, and put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, that was 13. Okay, item number 14. Counselor Jordan, you want to take that?
Yes. This is a resolution confirming the appointment of Stanley Joe Crittenden as Secretary of Veterans Affairs of the Cherokee Nation, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Is our former deputy here?
I am, sir.
Yes. Counselor Duncan?
I know we're on a time crunch, but I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't say how glad I am and thankful I am that I get to vote yes to support you here today. I don't know what to call you now. I've always just called you deputy.
That works.
I guess I'll call you secretary, hopefully in a bit. But I'm proud to vote yes for you today.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes, Counselor Stembo.
I think it's commendable that, and I think it's also wise whenever we bring people back who have been successful in what they've done, and we incorporate successful people with new people. I think that's very important. I think that's wise leadership, and it obviously shows a lot of confidence in you, which I know we all enjoyed you as deputy, and I'm myself too. I'm glad to see you back. So.
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You want to give a? You want to say something?
Well, some brilliant lady said a while ago that she mentioned her age, and I want to tell you I'm from Adair County, so I'm not from Cherokee. But someone else mentioned that we're all kinfolks, and I believe that. I told someone the other day when the Ark found solid ground, there was 8 people on that thing. Everybody else was gone. So, cousins, I look forward to this opportunity to serve the people of the Cherokee Nation, as I have in the past. And Chief, thank you for having the confidence in me. I will serve, and I'll make a hand. I want to see us have a veteran center second to none, if it's not already. Barbara has done a great job over there. There's a lot of work to be done with our veterans, and it's a joy to do it, and especially for me. And Harley, thank you for your service to this country.
Thank you.
And our veterans, a lot of them are getting older. As the young lady spoke a while ago, was somewhere in her, I won't say, but she's young to me. So, and I'm still glad to be around, and look forward to this opportunity to serve our veterans and serve our people.
Sure.
Thank you, Chief.
Counselor Crittenden?
Yeah, old Joe's been a big part of my life, big influence. My uncle. I mean, I can't go into what he's meant to me. Someone to look up to in different capacities. It's been this is kind of neat, isn't it? Though? Take away all the cameras and people and stuff, but just a couple of Crittendens getting to serve the folks. And you and I say it all the time, but never one time did you come and slap me around and say, "Wake up, nephew." Never one time did I say, "Come help me, Uncle, tell that," Never once. But this is neat, isn't it? And it's been an honor to work with you, and I love you. And there's not going to be, I can't think of a better person to do what you're going to be doing. And I'm going to do the right thing. I don't think you'll have any problem here, but I'm going to do the right thing and abstain. But you know my heart and what I think of you.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Councilor Buzzer?
Yes, and thank you for your service. From one veteran to another, we know what it means to serve.
Yes.
So I certainly want to support you, and I want to be added as a sponsor if I could. Thank you.
All righty. Well, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You got a good man there, Navy guy.
Thank you, Speaker.
Housing, Jobs, Sustainable Communities Act of 2019. Counselor Duncan, you want to take that?
Yes, sir. Would you like me to read the short purpose or just the title and let somebody explain?
We don't even have much explanation. I think it's been explained. Just read the title and we'll go from there.
Okay, this is an act. This is the Housing, Jobs, and Sustainable Communities Act of 2019, and I move for its approval.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Counselor Taylor.
I just have a question for the Attorney General, Sarah Hill. Why was I the only counselor left off as a sponsor when you drafted this? So I would like to be added, Shelley.
Okay. Chief, just want to commend you for this. Sometimes we get news and, we question, what the outcome might be or the motive and big dollars. But this one right here, when it was announced, I think it was just unanimous immediately. There's a need, you saw it, you have the vision, and we support you in this. And just, keep us informed how it's carried out. And, it's going to be a good thing for our people, and we appreciate that.
Speaker, thank you for that, and I want you to truly know it was born out of concerns that I developed as a councilman and that I heard from the council as I was Secretary of State, and I would like to go on the record to say Councilor Taylor did ask to be a sponsor early on, and I'm just so sorry that it was left off. But I appreciate the council's support of this. It is important to me that we not only get the finished product done, which is to clear the housing backlog and make improvements to community buildings, but that we spend this money wisely, that we act very efficiently, that we help people that need to be helped, and that we also do a very good job of measuring our impact, because I do think it will create jobs, and I do think it will change a lot of lives, and we can all, I think, be satisfied at the end of it that we did it the right way. So doing it the right way is as important to me as the finished product. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Absolutely. Yes, Councilor Shaw?
Yes. What is the criteria for deciding who gets funded and in what order?
That would be a question for the Housing Authority. Broadly, the legislation is designed to clear the backlog of applicants, but I could ask Mr. Cooper to come up here and speak to that.
And I'm guessing you're asking about the housing part of it. The way we process applications is each time we receive an application, it's date and time stamped in. Oldest application first, and we give preference to elderly, handicapped, and disabled.
Okay, and will this affect our current waiting list?
Yeah, it will help the waiting list. Yeah, I anticipate that with the amount of money that we're going to get over the next 3 years, we will not have a waiting list. It will have wiped out the waiting list for all of the applicants as of August 1st.
And I think, if I could, Mr. Cooper would agree that also means that the new applicants that come through the door will be served in a more efficient manner.
Yeah, and that is completely accurate too.
And all we ask is keep us informed by districts on how that is affecting or helping our district, would you please?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay, any more questions? And I will get this, Councilor Coates, we're right on time.
I was left off as a sponsor as well, so
Yes.
you're not alone.
Yeah, there's a couple of y'all was questions today. They're not for housing rehab? Come on.
I was never contacted, so
I know.
I don't know.
Okay.
I would like to be added, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
Coates, me, everybody. All right, Chief, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Would all the people that we confirmed today please stand? They're still here? Chief, you have a good team. Look forward to working with you, and let's move this trial forward in the next 4 years. Let's do good things.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Need a motion to adjourn? Adios.